Oh, okay. That's beautiful. All right, so Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to assembled Vaishnavi devotees. We thank you all for being here today. We have His Grace, HARINAMANANDA Prabhu. Well, if you go on YouTube and you watch devotional videos, you would have seen HARINAMANANDA Prabhu, and he lives by his name. He's a Harinam enthusiast, and he's been kind to us by visiting us quite a number of times to share his love and devotion with us via speaking SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. So Prabhuji, welcome back home.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Good to have you again. Good to have you again. So we may put the verse on the screen and then you may take it over from here, Prabhuji. All right. Let me do this. Salika. All right.
Okay. I don't think I'll be coming out again. Okay, yes, I can see.
All right, yeah, we can see you, we can hear you.
Okay, Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So should I just start?
Yes.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6. This chapter is entitled Purusha Shukta Confirmed, text 33. Iti te vihitam tata yate tam anupishyati vaschasi nanyat bhagavata kinchit vavyam sad asad atmakam. Word for word, iti, thus, te, unto you, avihitam, explained, tata, my dear son, yata, as, idam, all these, anu, prishchasi, as you have inquired, na, never, anyat, anything else, bhagavataha, beyond the personality of Godhead, kinchit, nothing, bhavyam, to be thought of, to be thought ever, sat, cause, as come in the matter of. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. My dear son, whatever you inquired from me, I have thus explained to you. And you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and the spiritual world, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of God. Purport. The complete cosmic situation, both in the material and in the spiritual manifestations of the energies of the Lord, is working and moving first as the cause and then as the effect. But the original cause is the Supreme Personality of God. Effects of the original cause become the causes of other effects. And thus everything, either permanent or temporary, is working as cause and effect. And because the Lord is the primeval cause of all persons and all energies, He is called the cause of all causes, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita as well as in the Bhagavad Gita. The Brahma Samhita affirms, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadi Nadi Govinda, Savakarna Karna. And in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8 it is said, Aham Savasya Prabhavo Mata Savam Prabhatate. Iti mata vajantamam buddha bhava. So the original primary cause is Vigraha, personal, and the impersonal spiritual effulgence, Brahmajyoti, is also an effect of the Supreme Brahman. Brahmano hi pratistaham, Lord Krishna. Omega Timanandasya, Gyananashalakya, Tikshamitamena, Tasmina, Sri Chaitanya Manovistam, Staptamina, Swayam Rupam Garamayam, Dadanti Swapadantam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shiveta Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Vanchakapataru Vishya Prasanna Vevicha Bhakta. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, it says, Bahunam Jamanamante Jnanamam Pramantate Vasudeva Sabamiti Samahatma Sudurabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me. Knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So we see here Lord Brahma is inviting us into a new state of consciousness, the Mahatma consciousness, to see that there is nothing but the Lord. You may have experienced this, you may experience like you walk into a room, you may be looking for something and you're just concentrating and looking for that thing. And you're just concentrating looking for that thing, and all of a sudden there's someone in the room behind you. And you're like, hey, when did you get there? So I was here the whole time. You never saw me. So we're doing that with Krishna. Krishna has always been there. He's there in every atom. He's there in the heart. But we're just like unconscious of him being there. We think he wasn't there the whole time. We're just caught up in our own world, in our own dream, in Maya, being unconscious of Krishna. So with transcendental knowledge, Jnanavan, we become conscious of Krishna. We become Krishna conscious. So this is the consciousness that Lord Brahma is trying to invite us into becoming Krishna consciousness. So when we're in Maya, being unconscious, we dream up that anything or anyone could be the original cause of any effect that we experience in this world. For example, say you see a painting, you think, who painted it? And then when you find out the painter, oh, Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo. Oh yes, we admire and adore them. Or we hear a song, who sang it? And then the same thing, we adore, we admire them, we worship them. But Bhagavad Gita says, Rasaham Apsakunteya, Pravasmi Sasti Suryo, Pranavasava Vedishu, Sabdake Purinam Nishu. Even if you want to see the painting, you need light of the sun or the moon, but you don't give Krishna credit. And then we think of music. Krishna says, Sabdake, I am the sound in ether. If you don't have any sound, any music, any song without Krishna, you can't have it. And then all these abilities that we are Mayan people, that Krishna says, I am Purusham Nishu, I am the ability of man. So where do we give Krishna the credit? One time when Srila Prabhupada was preaching in America, the early days, he had his storefront, but then before that he was staying in the ashram of Dr. Mishra. And Dr. Mishra was an impersonalist and he was a Mayavadi. He was teaching yoga, hatha yoga. So he was invited Prabhupada was invited along with his followers to the ashram. So Hayagriva, they're used to living in New York, so it's like a city, you don't get much nature. So many of them decided to sleep outdoors. And Hayagriva was watching the sunset, it was a very beautiful sunset. And he starts getting poetic, as if a painter with his paintbrush, he brushed strokes into the sky. Very beautiful scene. And then Prabhupada, he says that we are not concerned with the painting, the beauty of the painting. We are concerned with the beauty of the painter. This guy really concerned with Krishna's beauty. But those who are in Maya, those who are being unconscious, they think that the cause could be anything. For example, there's an echo in this now. Yes, because I'm in a nice Indian apartment. I'm trying to get this to work, but every time I put on the headphones, the Bluetooth, it locks me out of the Zoom. So I'm gonna try and do it. Let's see how it works. Okay. How's it now? Is it more clear?
Yes.
Okay. So those who are unconscious, they're kind of caught right in the middle, like halfway through the movie, and they're trying to make conclusions and figure out what's going on. Just like the scientists give this Big Bang theory, everything came from one point of molecule, and then there was an explosion. So much imagination. So there's a story with Isaac Newton. So there was this a man went to see him, and there was like all this junk everywhere inside, and he goes, oh yes, there's all this junk here. Next day he goes there, and then with all the junk, Isaac Newton made like a model of the solar system. And this man was very impressed. How did you do this? This was amazing. Who did this? And who made this? And Isaac Newton said, oh, there was a big explosion outside, and then this happened. When did anything of order and structure ever, appear from an explosion? And then you go on to further like Darwinism, that humans came from monkeys, or like we're evolving more and more from one species to more and more. But if humans came from monkeys, how come the monkeys aren't turning into humans now? Prabhupada would say. Also, Darwin, he stole this concept of evolution from the Padma Purana, where it says there's 8.4 million species of life, and stating each one, and that the evolution of consciousness, the soul goes through from plant life, from aquatics to plant life, to reptiles, to beasts, then to human life. But he just took it halfway through. They don't recognize the origin of everything, which is Krishna, Aham Savasya Prabhu Matasav Pravati Itam. That all spiritual material worlds emanate from Krishna. But they don't acknowledge that. This is the problem. Some people are so like, I guess, puffed up that they even think that they themselves are the cause of everything. I am the origin. Bhagavad Gita expresses this. Prakriti Kriyamanani Gunakamani Savasha Ahankara Vadurama Katami Imanyate, that the spirits are bewildered by false ego, thinks himself to do activities by action carried out by the modes of material nature. Because of false ego, Aham Mameti, I and mine, I am this material body, and everything is for my pleasure. Even all these people around me, they're actually for my sense gratification. They're here to serve me. And I am the center of everything that happens. If something happens outside my experience, it doesn't exist. This is the consciousness of those who are bewildered by false ego, who are caught up in Maya, being unconscious. So it's actually a demoniac consciousness. We look in the 16th chapter of the demoniac consciousness. Asatyam apratistam te jagat ahura ishvaram Aparaspara Sambutam Kim Anya Kama Haitukam. They say that this world is unreal with no foundation, no body control. And they say it produces sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Itam dishtam avasta biyam nasta mano alpam buddhya pravanti ukra kamana shaya jagatohita. Following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. This ugra karma. So I remember showing these verses when I was traveling around in my van during all these lockdowns that are taking place. I'll be in these country towns and I'd meet people. And the main question was, what do you think of the vaccine? What do you think of the lockdown? So I simply show them this verse and they'll read it and the purport and they'll take a Bhagavad Gita. People can more and more. There's no true love in such consciousness. We can see in relationships, it's just business deal. You know, a woman needs to be pretty and submissive or a man leaves her. And a man needs to have money and confidence to provide security, or the woman leaves, find someone else. There's no sense of like, they're only thinking what's in it for me, what benefits me in these relationships. No one's thinking, what can I do for others? How can I serve? How can I elevate others? So when one is being Krishna conscious, naturally they care for living beings. In the 5th chapter, Bhagavad Gita says, Vijavaniya Sampani, Ramaniga Hastini, Sunicheva Sakecha, Anita Samadashina. That one, the sage who is humble and is by the virtue of true knowledge, sees a dog eater, a cow, an elephant, and a brahmana, all with equal vision. Because he sees that they're all children of God. The Lord is sitting within the heart of every living entity. So we see that in the story of Megari the hunter. Narada Muni, he sees walking through the forest and he sees all these animals being half killed. And they're suffering like anything. He's feeling so much compassion for them. And then he sees this hunter who's doing this with great happiness, yes, and he enjoys watching them suffer. And then he goes, hey, hunter, what are you doing? You know? And then Magari the hunter is like, oh, what, do you want some skins? I killed many animals. I can donate you from this skin because you're a sage. No, no, no. Why are you half killing these animals? They're suffering so much. Don't you know this is simple? You should at least kill them fully. Magari the hunter says that, no, I've been taught this is the way I kill and I enjoy it too. And Narada Muni is saying, no, this is sinful. You will suffer so much by doing such activity. I said, sinful? Yeah, you must give up you must stop this. So how do I maintain myself? I've only known this. Don't worry, I will maintain you. But before I maintain you, must break this ball. You must break your attachment. So he did that. And then word got to the rest of the villagers that he says, you just chant the holy name and I'll maintain you. So the villagers came and he saw this hunter became like a sadhu and they just started bringing all this bhoga, all this food and more than he even had before. So we can see that the Lord provided for him because he followed Narada Muni's instruction. One day Narada Muni came with his friend Prabhata Muni to see his disciple, Magari the hunter. So when Narada Muni was approaching, Magari the hunter, he was like, you should come and bow down to your spiritual master. But he was like jumping side to side. You know, he's like, what's going on? Why are you doing this? Why don't you just come and bow down? He goes, no, I don't want to step on the ants that were in the way. So he was trying to avoid the ants. So Prabhata Muni was praising Narada Muni. Look at you, you know, look at you. You're like a touchstone. They're like a touchstone, you know, whatever you touch turns into gold. This man was like a killer. He was not even fully killing, he was loving the suffering of other living entities. And now he's chanting, he's become a devotee because of you. Now he can't even step on ants. Now he can't even step on ants because he sees their pain. He's become part of the physical. So this is the nature of becoming Krishna conscious. If you have love for Krishna, automatically you love the living entity. If you love the body, automatically you love the thing. This is the science of Krishna consciousness. That we can feel and have emotions and be in real universal brotherhood when one just loves Krishna. It's like the one switch that turns all the lights on. Most people think if one dedicates their life to God, then what about your other relations? What about, you know, your friends, your family? You know, you're just caught in God. No, actually it perfects those relationships because God is in the center. Krishna is in the center. Just like watering the tree, you gotta water the root. If you try and water each leaf and branch and twig, that's not the way to satisfy the tree. And it's parts and parcel. You have to water the roots. Same if you want to satisfy the body. You think that you're going to put food into different parts of your body separately, into your eyes, into your ears. No, there's a process to satisfy the whole body. By putting food in the mouth and in the stomach, then everything gets satisfied and nourished beyond its own capacity. This is the science of Krishna practice. But people are simply caught in darkness and making conclusions without the light of truth. So let's look at the reality. What does the Bhagavatam give us? Let's start at the beginning. First, you have Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan. Then you have his first expansion, Balaram. Then from there is the first Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. Then from Sankarshan, you have Narayan, who's the Lord of Vaikuntha and all the Vaikuntha planets. Then from Narayan, there's a second Chaturvyuha. And then you have Mahasakashan, who is Mahavishnu, lying on the causal ocean. And as he breathes in and out, the universe is produced. He glances onto Pradhan, which turns into Mahatattva. This glance is carrying living entities that are injected into the womb of material nature. These living entities are carried by Sadashiva, which is Vishnu Tattva, from Vaikuntha planets. When he enters that glance, this is Shambhu. Shambhu carries all the living entities into the material nature. And then when it hits material nature, then it becomes the demigod Shiva that we know. In each universe, the Lord expands as Garbhodaksha Krishna. He lies, it's very hot inside, and he sweats, and he lies on his sweat, on his Anantashesh bed. And from his navel, Lord Brahma has appeared. And Lord Brahma is trying to find out what's going on. He goes down to Lotus Town. He's there, he's searching for thousands of those celestials. He cannot figure it out. Where do I come from? He comes back to the lotus flower and he hears the ocean, the Kava ocean, the waves are making the sound tapa. So then he starts executing tapasya. And then the Lord from within the heart reveals everything. And then he speaks the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anari Nari Govinda Sava Karana Karana. That Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the supreme controller. And his form is Sachidananda. He's the primeval Govinda. This is what Lord Brahma, the head of our Sampradaya, is realized and is giving to us. The Lord further expands the Shiradakshaya Vishnu, who is living in the heart of every living entity, in every atom and in between every atom. So Krishna is there in every step of the way. You don't have to worry if, Krishna's always got your back, you can say. There's not a time where think that he's not there. He's always existed. He's always available. Some believe that the demigods are supreme, but we can see in the pastime of Brigamuni and other sages, who is supreme, Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva? This is always an argument with Hindus. You know, some just feel like, oh, Shiva's my god, or some feel like, you know, Ganesh is my god. It's kind of like choosing superhero. And it's also a business deal too. I grew up Hindu, and you know, you get told, okay, if you want good exams, then pray to Saraswati. If you want this, pray to this demigod. So it's just business, really. It's no real love or a sense of devotion. But the sages want to know who is supreme. Because sometimes in the Vedas they address Brahma as Bhagavan, or they address Shiva as Bhagavan, Vishnu as Bhagavan. So who's the real one? So Brigamuni, he goes to see Lord Brahma, and he doesn't give proper respects to him. Brahma's his father, so you should, like, you know, have a nice mentality, but he doesn't respect. And Brahma gets angry, but then he controls his anger, seeing his son, and Brigu understands, okay, he got angry. So then he goes to see Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva, he's actually the brother of Brigamuni. So he goes, oh, my dear brother, come here, let me embrace you. So nice you've come. And Brigamuni is like, don't touch me. You're disgusting. Look at you. You hang out in cemeteries, you're covered in ash, and you're always hanging out with these ghosts and hobgoblins, and people don't even know what you're really all about. And then she was so angry, he picked up his trident really to kill Brigamuni, and then lucky his wife Parvati stopped him. He's like, no, don't. And then he comes to the Svetadvip, where the Lord is lying on Anantashesh and his feet is being massaged by Lakshmi Devi. So what does he do? He comes up and kicks the Lord on the chest. And what does the Lord do? Oh, my dear Brahmana, I didn't know you've come. I haven't received you properly. I'm so sorry. Is your foot okay? Because my chest is as hard as thunderbolts. And he even's like trying to massage his feet to make him feel better. He says, there's nothing in this world but Brahmanas. No Brahmaya Devaya, Go Brahmana Tacha. Like Krishna, the Brahmanas and the cows are very dear. So Brigamuni could see that by the power of tolerance, that Vishnu is the supreme. Even though he offended Brahma on the offense of the mind and Shiva with words, he did physical harm to the Lord. And Lakshmi wasn't happy, and that's why Brahman is always poor. She kept them poor. She was offended. But through that, we can see that Vishnu is. We can also see that in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, Brahma, he's seeing that there's, you know, this boy that everyone's claiming to be the supreme personality of Godhead, that this is my Lord, but he's holding yogurt and fruit in his left hand, and he's like looking for cows and acting like they're lost. So he decides to play a little trick to see, is this really my Lord? So he steals the calves and the cowboys and puts them away. And then he comes straight back and he sees they're still there. The Lord has expanded into every cowed boy and cow. But the Lord, he is Daksha. By one action, he fulfills the purposes of many. So in this way, he can reciprocate with all the elderly gopas and gopis and the cows who desire Krishna to be their own son. Their love increased so much for their own children when Krishna expanded as their children and cows. One time the cows went on top of the hill with the cowed men, but then the cows, upon seeing their own calves, they just galloped downhill towards their calves to feed them milk. And the cowed men were thinking, oh no, the cows are going to drink all the milk. And the cows, when they were running, they were like galloping. Their hooves, their front and back feet were like together. They were really galloping down. See the calves, and they were linking in, and there was just so much affection towards them. So when the cowed men came down to try and catch the cows, they saw their own sons, the cowed boys. And then they just started smelling their heads and embracing them and having so much affection as if they were Krishna themselves. So you could see this going on. And Lord Balaram was even bewildered. He was like, what's going on here? There's something up. This hasn't happened before. Because that day was Balaram's birthday. So he was kept home by his mother to be dressed up. And like, it's your birthday, you should dress up, stay at home, and we'll get you ready. So he doesn't know about Lord Brahma stealing everyone. So Lord Brahma is bewildered. It's like, what? Did I put them back, and why are they here? So Lord Brahma, being bewildered, he went away, and this happened for a whole year, but for Brahma was a moment. So he came back, and a year already passed, and he went to see Krishna and all the cowboys. And then Krishna all of a sudden, with his expansion, they all turn into four Vishnu forms. So we think, oh well, that's not such a big deal. No, it was a big deal because with each Vishnu form, there was like all the demigods and all living entities and all the elements surrounding each Vishnu form. So this is not only like Lord, and it was fully Vishnu. It wasn't like an expansion or projection or hologram. Each Vishnu was fully present with all energies, and it was such an amazing sight to see from Lord Brahma. He'd never seen such an exhibition of his Lord. And then all of those expansions with all its energies and all living entities worshipping each Vishnu form, they all went into the body of Krishna. And then he could understand, oh, I think I've played with fire here. This is not good. I think I'm in trouble. So the Lord Brahma offers some beautiful prayers in the next chapter that we could see. We can see how even Lord Shiva was worshipping the Lord. So there's a pastime. It actually goes a bit long. So I'll try and make it short. So Banasura is he was in charge of Sanitapur. I can't remember. Anyway, Banasura, he is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. He's in the same family. And he's a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And he worshipped him very much. And he has like thousands of hands. So he'll play drum. So he must be a really good drum player with thousands of hands. And Lord Shiva would dance. And Lord Shiva says, okay, what benediction would you like? So Banasura asked that you become the protector of my city. He says, okay, let it be so. So he had a daughter named Usha. And Usha, she was very young. But she started having dreams of a very beautiful man. And she was having like a conjugal relationship within the dream. She would wake up, oh, my lover, where have you gone? Where have you gone? So a princess always has like many girlfriends with her, and one of them was was it Chitra? It was Chitra. I forgot the name, but she had some mystic power. So she decided to draw all these different personalities, and she would draw like different demigods, and they weren't it. She would draw Krishna, and she sort of blushed a bit, but it wasn't him. Then when she drew the grandson of Krishna, Aniruddha, then she started to look down and blush, and she understood, okay, this is the person. So Usha's friend, she, by mystic power, transported Aniruddha into the quarters of Usha. And then they started embracing and having conjugal affairs together. So the servants of the palace, they could understand, right, this girl has been hooking up with someone. So they didn't want to get in trouble, so they went to tell their master Banasura and said, I think she's been, there's signs of her being with someone. So Banasura, with all his guards, they bust into the quarters of Usha, and they see that Usha and Aniruddha are sitting together, and they could tell that they've been embracing in a more very intimate way, in a conjugal way. So then he calls out, "Guards, kill him at once, go get him." And then Aniruddha stands up and he's like Yamaraj. He's like, he picks up some metal rod and he's standing there ready to take on the guards. He starts like lashing out and he takes all the guards out. But then Banasura, he had these Varuna ropes, these nooses, and he captured Aniruddha. And he was trapped there. So then Narada Muni, he gave word to the Yadavas that Aniruddha has been captured by Banasura. So then everyone starts getting into battle mode. Satyaki's there, and Prajumna, all the Yadavas with Krishna, they all come, and Balaram, they all come. Because Lord Shiva, he promised. So he came, he came with these hobgoblins and ghosts and everything, yakshas and yakshakshas. And even his sons came, Kartikeya and Ganesh. So it was a big fight. You would not imagine what kind of fight it is. Star Wars has got nothing on this fight. This like every weapon was equal to like a nuclear weapon that they were throwing at each other. And Banasura was fighting with these thousands of arms as well. You can imagine like 500 arrows. So big battle taking place. So ultimately it comes to the point where Krishna is fighting Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, he throws this Shiva Dwala, which is a fire personality made out of fire with like 3 heads and 3 legs. It was like very, very scary, ghastly form. And then Krishna manifests in Narayan Dwala, which is it has more cooling effect. So I don't know if you've ever been in cold weather. It's very hard when it gets too cold. You can't really maintain. People mainly die in cold weather. Compared to hot weather, all you have to do is kind of just tolerate it and you can get through it. But the cold, it can kill, even get pneumonia. People freeze to death sometimes. So the Shiva Dwala was feeling this cold, Narayan Dwala, and was nearly dying. So then the Shiva Dwala form started surrendering to Krishna and offering prayers. And Krishna gave the Shiva Dwala shelter. And then Lord Shiva comes to bow down to Krishna, being defeated. He says, "No, I want to protect Panasura. Please don't kill him." Krishna like chopped off like nearly all his arms except 4. He was about to kill him. But Lord Shiva says, "No, he is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, please don't kill him. I promise this. You please allow him to stay alive," and like this. And then Krishna allowed him to stay alive. So we can see Lord Shiva is praying to Lord Krishna. Both Brahma and Shiva, big demigods, worshipping the Lord. Aradhananam Savishna Vishnu Aradhananam Param Tasma Pratanam Devi Taranam Samachanam. Lord Shiva said to his wife Parvati that the highest worship is the worship of Lord Vishnu. But higher than that is the worship of his devotees, because they're very dear to the Lord. That's why Banasura was stayed alive. And Vaishnava Yata Shambhu, that Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. So we can see in that way that these big demigods are worshipping something. Brahman is the supreme. And Islam, they're very against the form, having a form of the Lord. They think it's limiting or it equals to suffering, like the impersonal thing. But we see that Krishna's form is Satchidananda. It's very beautiful. It is the Bhushana Bhushana Angam. That is the ornament of all ornaments. So most people, especially ladies, they put different ornaments on, earrings and jewelry and makeup and different clothing to make themselves look more beautiful. But Krishna is putting on ornaments, but the ornaments become more beautiful because of him. This is his beauty. He is Madhu Mohan. He is the bewilderer of Cupid. Everyone's being bewildered by Cupid, but Krishna, he is making Cupid go crazy. His beauty defeats Cupid's tricks and forms. So we're going back to echo because this stopped working. Sorry. Can you still hear me okay, or is it very echoey?
Yes, we still can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So impersonalists, they think Brahman is supreme, and impersonalism is just like it's like an indirect atheism. You know, if there's no form to surrender onto, then there's no need for service. You just get caught up in your, I guess, the sat factor, that you're eternal and that you're spiritual. But the rendering of service or surrendering onto someone, that doesn't take place. And we can see that with the bogus commentators in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, "Man bhava bhakto," that, you know, think of me, become my devotee. But they interpret it as like, you don't have to surrender onto Krishna, it's the unborn within Krishna. So what does that mean? You don't have to do anything. You have all these like impersonalists writing books, you know, Power of Now or whatever else. And what does it mean? You know, Sadhguru or whoever else is there, they're all impersonalists. What are they doing? They're just making you feel good, but you don't change your life. There's no sense of like sacrifice for pleasing the Lord. And this is what real relationships is about. Love means to serve someone without wanting anything in return. So we can see the false ego playing into this. But Krishna says in the Gita in the 14th chapter, Brahma hi Pratistaham, I'm the basis of Brahma. It's resting on him. Mata Pratanamanya Kinchita Siddhananya Maisavamidam Prakta Suchimanigana Aiva. There's no truth superior to me. I'm the highest truth. Everything rests on me, just a pearls are strung on a thread. So we can see we got a Pantimala. It's held together by a thread, but can you see the thread? No. But if I take the thread out, what happens to all the beads? They all just all go all over the place. No organization. So we're concerned about the thread. When we find a thread in life, then life is a festival. And that thread is the Supreme Personality. But the fools, the mudas, avijananti ma muda manisintan mashitam parambhava jananto ma bhuta maheshwaram. That fools deride Krishna when he comes in a human form, not knowing of his supremacy. Because Krishna's pastimes are so human-like, they're so sweet. You know, he as a baby, he's scared of Mother Yashoda. We have Kartik coming up, so we're gonna remember this pastime of the Supreme Lord being scared of Mother Yashoda, a simple woman with a stick. But it's overcome by love. He wrestles with the Gopas. And then after wrestling, he's, you know, carrying them on his shoulders. Being a loser, he loses. He loses to them. And he has to carry them on his shoulder. He even flirts like a young boy with the gopis. You know. And also as a boy, he's stealing butter. This is your God. But he shows his supremacy, when he's accused of eating dirt by Balaram the cowboys. Then Mother Yashoda says, okay, Krishna, open your mouth. And there she sees the whole universe and all these planetary systems. And then she sees herself looking into Krishna's mouth again. And inside that mouth, she sees the whole universe again. It just goes on and on. She's going crazy. Going on here. If you think about it, we're inside Krishna, but Krishna is within this world. But Krishna also has his own separate existence from everything else. He's his own. The impersonalists think that everything is God. The whole thing put together, that's God. That's like a whole mush. We just have to realize that oneness. Forget about individuality, separateness, and variety. And that's just a mush like that. But no, there's achinta beta beta. But there's oneness in quality. We're one with Krishna in quality, but different. Because variety is the mother enjoyment. If it was all one, that'd be boring. That's why the Brahmavadis cannot stay in Brahma. They have to come back there. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he's explaining this achinta beta beta. Maitadam idam sarvam jagaravati mutina. Mastadi sarvabhutini nachahante savasita. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I'm not in them. Nacha mastani bhutani pasyame yogamaishvara. Bhutabrinna bhutasto mama bhutam bhavana. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation. So the energetic is separate from the energy. The source of the creator is separate from the creation. So how can we understand Krishna? It's so inconceivable. Our tiny brains can't wrap around it. It's only by bhakti. Bhaktimana vajanati yavnyas jasmitat tatmota patokanta visitetarnatram. Krishna says that one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Person God, only by devotion service. When one's in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter the kingdom of God. So what is bhakti? Savapari vinimuktam tapanitenam samanam shikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti. Bhakti is by utilizing the senses for the master of the sense. And the side effects is that you give up all these aparis, all these misconceptions that you built up in your dream world, being unconscious of the Lord. And you're free from all reactions. Atashi Krishna Namadi Nama Vegrana Seva Mukhi Jividosayam Spuratita. That our senses are blunt, they can't see spirit. We can't see the Lord who's the Supreme Spirit. But by service with the mouth and the tongue, the Lord reveals himself. So when he reveals himself, then you can see the transcendental nature of the Lord. When we see that transcendental nature of the birth and appearance and activities of the Lord, then upon leaving this body, you don't come back. You attain supreme abode. But this living in the spiritual can happen here and now. It has given by Lord Chaitanya. Baloka Permida Harinam Sankirtan. This is how we do it. This is how we're going to understand the Lord. This is how we're going to fall in love with the Lord. Is by engaging in Harinam Sankirtan. Chetadapana Majana. We cleanse the mirror of consciousness, set us free from all misconceptions of ourselves and our relationship with Krishna and his energy. Bhava Mahagdagni Nivapana. We extinguish the fire of repeated birth and death. We're just being bewildered by the senses, the mind and senses. Mahavamsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Manasasyani Indrani Prakristani Karshati. That we are fragmental parts and parcels of the Lord. But we are struggling with the 6 senses, which include the mind. But when we feed these senses, what happens? Yehi sansparsha cha boga tukayone evate ariantavant nateshanamata buddha. That when you contact the senses, that it means you're contacting the sources of misery. And Krishna in that verse, 4 times in that one line, he's telling you dukkha means distress. Yonya means the source of. Eva means certainly, te indeed. So certainly, indeed, you're tapping into the sources of misery by touching the material senses. But you may disagree. You may think like, no, I'm having a good time. You know, I see people, they're going out there enjoying their senses, having a drink, eating whatever their tongue is after, and trying to touch, trying to satisfy the genitals. It looks like fun. Looks like they're having fun. It's advertised that way. Coca-Cola, open happiness, you know. What's your problem? Why you have what's your problem? Well, Krishna in the 3rd line says, Arianta Vanta Kuntaya. Such pleasures have a beginning and an end. That's the problem. So even if you get happiness in this world, it's temporary. So it ends, that means misery. Happiness plus temporary means misery. So why would you do that? But if you work for Krishna, what do you get? Satchidananda. You get eternal knowledge and bliss. You live forever, you know everything, and you get ever increasing. He is Akila Rasamrita Mukti. He is the reservoir of all pleasure. Our happiness comes from rasa relationships. He is the complete nectarian form of rasa. This is what we need to connect to. That's done by Harinam. Shreya Tevara Chandrika. The benediction opens up the white lotus of fortune. So there's a white, even though this, it's a dark age, Kali Yuga, but the white lotus opens only at night. So with the Harinam Sankirtan, it helps open up that good fortune. So we think we're having misfortune, but no. By engaging in Harinam Sankirtan, you have so much fortune. It's been doing the yagya, Sankirtan yagya. It says in the 3rd chapter, if you engage in yagya, the Lord says, I could send forth men and demigods along with the process of yagya. By doing this yagya, you will attain everything you need to be happy in this world and attain liberation. So, you know, I'm part of this Harinam Ruchi. For the last 10, 11 years, we've traveled the world and we haven't worked any job. And we fly. It costs money. We fly and travel more than rich people. You know, people, they work all year long, and they have a holiday for 2 to 3 weeks. Our holiday is non-stop. So how is that possible? It's not materially logical. It just can't. The Lord says, "Annas chintayantamam yajana parapasati teshan nichbiyutana yogishan vihamiham." Lord says that one who's always meditating on my transcendental form. So one of those forms is the Nam Rupa. So we are serving the Nam Rupa by doing Harinam. It worships me with exclusive faith. So exclusive devotion, we do Harinam every day, no matter what. And then for that person, I preserve what they have and care what they lack. So if you're lacking money, he'll take care of it. He'll give you exactly enough that you need. And then whatever skills you have, he'll preserve them. This is the good fortune of Harinam Sankirtan that's available for that. Pitaram Vidyavadu Jivanam is life for transcendental knowledge. Ishwara Puri Torah verse to Lord Chaitanya, like again and again. when he was instructing him. He said, this is the essence of all Bhagavatam instruction. Would you like to know what is the essence of all Bhagavatam instructions? Okay, I'll tell you because I can't see it. This is from the 11th canto, chapter 2, verse 40. Evam vrata swapriya nama kritya jagadanu dito chitta ucce hasyati ato roditi roti gayati umadavan ityati lokabhaya. By chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord, one comes to the stage of love of Godhead. Then the devotee is fixed in his vow as an eternal servant of the Lord. And he gradually becomes very much attached to a particular name and form of the Supreme Person of Godhead. As his heart melts with ecstatic love, he laughs very loudly and cries or shouts. Sometimes he sings and dances like a madman, or he is indifferent to public opinion. This is the essence of all Bhagavatam instruction. You must laugh and cry and shout and chant with ecstatic love like a madman. Anandam Vadanam, the ever-increasing ocean of transcendental bliss. The more you do it, the more it gets better. And the more people who get involved, the more merrier it becomes. The more the merrier. So usually this meditation or study or other processes, you usually need to do it in solitude or with the right people. But when Harinam, it doesn't matter who joins in. The more unqualified, actually, the more blissful you become. After this Kartik, we're going to go to Australia. And in Australia, they have this thing called schoolies. So it's pretty much like 30,000 high school kids that finish their metric and they go to the surfing town. And they have a whole thing set up for them, stages, nightclubs, and many of them, they take drugs, they drink alcohol, they try and have illicit sex. And majority of them have a really bad time because of such high expectations of enjoyment. They just act like animals. But we go there with Harinam, really intense Harinam, for 4 hours every night for like 10 nights. You lose your voice, you just go all out. And they love that energy. They come running, they dance like crazy. And you can see they're just like pretty much destined for hell, hellish life, but somehow a 180 turn by the Harinam saying, by joining it. And they chant, when they chant and you hear it, they chant with so much enthusiasm. And then you see them during the day and like it's all hotels on the beach. So they see you from the hotel balcony and they yell out, hey, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You're going to be there tonight. I'm coming, Sometimes even these kids, there's all these nightclubs in this area. So they do, like here in Vrindavan, I'm in Vrindavan now. So we do parikram. You have a parikram leader and you go to the different holy sites and, they show you around. So there they do like a nightclub parikram. They have their parikram leader and they go into each nightclub like that. So sometimes we catch him in between when they're going between the nightclubs. And there's like a crowd of 200 kids. We catch them, they start dancing, they go crazy, and they forget all about the nightclubs. They say, you guys are better than the nightclubs. This is Anandam Bhurivadanam. Patipadam Punamrita Swadanam, tasting full nectar at every step. Savatma Sapanam, it's like a transcendental bathing. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So Param is supreme, Vijayate victorious. So yesterday we had Ram Vijaya Utsava, celebrating the victory of Lord Ram, killing Ravana. But victory is available for us in Lord Chaitanya's Harinam Sankirtan. Otherwise, you're just lost in the darkness of illusion, being unconscious of Krishna, being caught up in the demoniac society of Ukrakam. But by engaging in this Harinam Sankirtan, we can be ecstatic and blissful. And this is a universal event when Harinam takes place. We know the demigods are lining up to take birth in the Sankirtan movement. Maybe all your children are such personalities. This is a verse. I'm going to finish with this. This is a verse from Narada Muni Bhajavena by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Panche Vadana Narada Dhari Premana Sagana Rola Kamala Sana Narabale Bola Bola Hari Bola. Lord Shiva, embracing Narada Muni, repeatedly makes loud screams of ecstatic joy. And Lord Brahma, dancing very ecstatically, says, all of you kindly chant, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So this is not, this Harinam Sankirtan is for everyone, but the dynamic understand the meaning of it. They want everyone to chant. This is how we know the Lord as the cause of all causes. And then we can really worship Him. Aham Sarvasya Prabhu Mata Sarvam Prabhatate. Itimata Vijantim Am Buddha Bhavam Samam. The intelligent, the Buddha, they worship the Lord with Bhav. So I'll stop here. And if there's any questions or comments, you can ask.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Harinamnanda Prabhu, for such a wonderful, beautiful Krishna Katha. You took us through different meandering of Krishna Katha, who is Krishna, who is Shiva, who is Brahma, to how to perform devotional service. So dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, or realizations one may want to share, please, you may unmute and speak. Prabhuji, you quoted this beautiful verse 11-40 of the Bhagavatam. And I'd like to put it up here and then ask you a question from that. Because,
sure.
Yeah, this is SRIMAD Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, Text 40. And it says, by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord, one comes to the stage of love of Godhead. Then the devotee is fixed in his vow as an eternal servant of the Lord, and he gradually becomes very much attached to a particular name and form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As his heart melts with ecstatic love, he laughs very loudly, or cries or shouts. Sometimes he sings and dances like a madman, for he is indifferent to public opinion. My question stems from the last sentence. For he is indifferent to public opinion. How should we understand this statement in contrast with such a devotee living in a society and the government of the society stipulates a law, especially like when we had this COVID pandemic? Some countries, some cities, they had restrictions that no more than 10, 15 people can congregate together in public, things like that. Can one, from this statement, say that I do not care about public opinion, I'm going to do what I'm going to do? How do we understand this particular statement in contrast with what government government institution states in a community, in a society? Hare Krishna, please.
Hare Krishna. Very controversial, Prabhu. You want to get me cancelled, huh?
No. Please help us out.
Okay. Okay. I will ask you how sensitive your channel is. Who's looking at it? Because I can give you the real stuff, or I can give you diplomatic answer.
No, give us the real stuff, please.
Okay. I'll
Yes.
give the real stuff.
Yes, please.
Okay. So Prabhupada says that we are concerned with public opinion and trying to please the public. We're concerned with trying to please the previous acharyas. So this is like what we're trying to do. From my experience, what you said in the example, that you couldn't congregate so many people. So I was trapped in Melbourne, which had the longest lockdown in the world. Melbourne, Australia, that city had the longest lockdown in the world. You be outside for 1 or 2 hours for exercise. You couldn't congregate more than 2 people. So me and this other devotee, he's from Siberia, he was fired up. So we did it every day. We went on Harinam 2 hours. And you had to go on with mask. And then we would gauge the social situations. Some people were like way too much kind of like attached to the rules. But many people just stayed inside and they were getting miserable because there was no entertainment whatsoever. They could only be like online trying to be entertained for so long, bombarded by constant news of whatever bad stuff was going on and the stress and anxiety they had to deal with. But we come through with Harinam in front of their homes and they'll be dancing from the window. That was a big thing. And I was luckily staying near a beach area. So there's like a walking, and many people walking along the beach. So they'll finish their work from home and they'll walk along the beach. So you just catch everyone who's walking on the beach pretty much. And then one day, because I kept trying to push the boundaries, how much further can we go ahead? Can we make people dance and chant? So there was one day, it seemed like people just really had enough. And we went into the middle of the crowd of people, started chanting Hare Krishna. These people went insane, started going crazy, chanting like madmen. They didn't want to stop. But then something in the heart said, you have to get out here right now. So usually when you got a crowd of people and they're dancing and chanting, you don't turn away, you keep going. And this voice was very loud. It's like, you gotta get out here right now. So me and my friend, we turned away and we just, got out of there. As we were walking away from the crowd, an army of policemen were walking towards the crowd, and they didn't do anything to us. So you got protection from the Lord. The Lord will protect if you, essentially go out to do it for Guru and Krishna, to please them. Then it'll happen. So apparently the government had like some paparazzi, and that we ended up on the news because of that. You couldn't see me, but you could see the other two. And the movement in Melbourne wasn't happy. They were saying we were creating a bad image, and you ruined relationships with the government, this and that. Actually, nothing really happened. And 2 weeks after that incident, all cases went to 0, and they had to like reinvent their approach to trying to, scare people into like doing what they want. So it actually gave a hit to whatever they were planning, and I have faith, not full faith, but strong faith that if just to take care of this uber karma, kirtan's the way to go. Call it Kaladosha Nidira Jan Astyako Mahaguna Kitan. It nada Krishna Sya It's an ocean of faults. Everything is tainted with blood, literally. I guess Africa knows that. Everything's tainted with blood. But there's only one good quality. It's this Krishna Kirtan, this Harinam Sankirtan. We need to put the holy name out there. This transcendental sound vibration is cutting through all sensory lockdown, all mental lockdown, all intellectual lockdown. It cuts through it all and it hits the consciousness directly. It's so subtle, it's the Lord himself. And, it's Krishna Prema Sabhukaranoi, Siddhachita Kuryodoy, that, by hearing the holy name, that love of God is awake. So caring for each other instead of exploiting each other. That's what we got to do. So that's okay.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the answer. And we thank Guru and Krishna that somehow you were inspired and advised to get out of the place before the storm.
Yeah.
You were able to leave the scene
Very lucky.
before the cops came through. The reason I asked this question is because we read from Chaitanya Charitamrita how Lord Chaitanya, excuse me, and his congregational party became like the first civil disobedience. And they were told not to go on Harinam. And Lord Chaitanya said, okay, if you say we should not, we're going to go. But I'm thinking that for us as mortal beings trying to serve the Lord, it could be very dangerous to go against government policies if we do not canvass for some sort of reason why we may be exempted in certain situations, because especially here in the States, it's almost impossible to go against the government, especially being a very small group. We do not have many of our people in government positions. So I find it very difficult. And in West Africa also, some time ago, lots of the countries were having military coups and they were having curfews that you can only be out till like maybe 6 p.m., 7 p.m. And so if devotees decided to go against such rules, then they get arrested. And if they get arrested, what is the opportunity to going out there again? So my thinking is that it is important that we do Harinam, that is our life, but at the same time, it should be done in such a way that we do not appear to be like waging war against the government. If there is a way we can make friends with the government, that might help us in the long run. That's the reason why I asked this question, but I appreciate your answer also. And I guess it depends on place, time, and circumstance, depending.
Yeah, obviously you have to scope the environment. We do that too. We, for some reason, like Harinam's so merciful that when you come into a new place, we come into many new places where we don't know what the situation is, but even the local devotees don't know because that's how they do Harinam. Like you talk about like devotees like, oh, go head on with the government. But first of all, we have to go head on with ourselves. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because like, you know, most places in the world, US for sure, to do Harinam is available. The opportunity is there. So we can do it. So if the opportunity is there, we take it. If there's less opportunity, then we take the small window we have.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. But obviously, like Chaitanya's case, he wants to prove a point. It's like we want to show that this can go above everything. But obviously, to develop such faith, one needs to do more. To develop that faith that we can, go beyond whatever the material world throws at us. I'm lucky enough to be given this service, and then somehow with the instruction of spiritual master, that power behind it, it's given great faith to like do it in crazy circumstances. Most of the time people ask me these kind of stories, what, did you nearly die in Harinam? Did someone try to stop you? Did someone try and kill you? But, that's only rare. They want to hear some story. But like most of the time it's the boring story that like we go somewhere, people dance and chant, people take books, people are very welcoming because you're happy and you're creating, a good atmosphere. Majority of people in the world are welcoming Harinam. Governments want these things to happen. There's many major cities that the Hare Krishna is this a sightseeing attraction, like in London or New York or something like that. So I mean, for so-called demoniac, governments or whatever you want to call it, materialists, Harinam's not a threat. It's just singing and dancing. We're not doing anything, they think. But we know that it's cutting through all their ignorance that they're keeping the people under. So we should have that same confidence, and especially if we have opportunity, then we should do it. Ayendra Prabhu says, like, the demons are going crazy and they're not slowing down. So, while we do have the opportunity, we should engage it. We should put the transcendental sound vibration out there as much as possible. But if we're too scared to do it, as devotees, we are followers of Lord Chaitanya, so we should at least do it. We're kind of always waiting for someone else to do it. Then, yeah, at least someone needs to be brave enough to just get out there and put the sound vibration out there. And there's some personalities like that that are crazy enough to just go with cartels and chant the holy name. And it doesn't have to be like, in a major city center. It can be around the block in your neighborhood for 15 minutes, And say if you did it weekly, at the same time every day, then first of all, they'll be like, what are you doing? And then eventually you'll just become that happy person that comes around the block every week. And then they'll have to ask you, what are you doing? You look happy. Because people are suffering out there, I had a class this morning, and a friend of mine had to process a death certificate for a 13-year-old girl who killed herself. And this is in Australia first. This is Australia, everyone thinks Australia is, what's there to stress about. Suicide is lower for tweens, people who are like under 13, 10, 11, 12 years old, they're committing suicide due to mental anxiety from whatever's happening on social media or whatever else, cyberbullying. This whole, they even in the schools, they're teaching like sexual perversion, even to the point of like homosex. So, in the schools. So actually, it's whatever we have to offer as the movement. We have people looking for a more conservative way of life, a more regulated way of life. People are looking for something that will actually work, and Krishna consciousness has that. So actually, the government should pay us, should commission us to save everyone from suicide and, so much stress. And, so actually we should be more bold and be out there and put out, the knowledge, the prasadam and the holy name. And then eventually it would be a welcome thing, like we've seen in many parts of the world also. So we should not, we should just be, ourselves as the movement, as well as Lord Chaitanya, put out that holy name, dance in ecstasy as much as possible, not to become followers of the impersonalists who do this like, kind of yoga style kirtans. No, we are dancing like crazy. This is us, really. This is what the Bhagavatam says, not me.
Yeah.
This is what the Panchatattva did. So we shouldn't compromise. And, Prabhupada, what he's given is actually light years ahead of the competition. Everyone else, all these spiritual other groups, they're all just trying to catch up to Prabhupada. So we already have it. We're already ahead of the game. We just think that because, the trend is something else, we should follow the impersonalists. No. Follow Prabhupada and we'll always be ahead of the game. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna saying.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Prabhuji. I remember when I was in Ghana, my motherland. As devotees, we would travel the length, the breadth of the country doing harinams. We go everywhere. But from our experience, it's much easier doing harinam in the big cities than the small towns and villages. Because in the small towns and villages, you have to get permission from the local authorities in that particular village. So I remember very well, we went to one place, which was not a very small village, but it wasn't a big town either. Maybe a town of about maybe 5,000 people. So we went to one place, and in West Africa in general, lots of the time the Muslims live in a secluded area or like in a very demarcated area. So we went to that zone, and lots of people welcomed us. And just as we were about to start chanting, the leader of the people came and then asked them, "Why do you allow these people here? Come on, kick them out." And these same people who had loved us a minute ago turned against us. They were about to beat us up.
No.
So the only thing we could do was to pack our things and leave the place. So this is just a typical example of what I'm saying, that sometimes, depending on place, time, circumstance, we will try to do Harinam, but if it is a situation that we cannot fight against, we may leave and go somewhere else. Instead of insisting that I'm going to be at the same place. Yeah.
Yeah, you gave them holy name already. The damage is done.
Yeah.
Because the thing is like, okay, they were so happy they had such a good time. The leader comes, says, kick them out. All right, so they kind of kick you out. But still, they're thinking, but I felt so happy then,
Yeah.
So, they'll never forget, And if I meet those people, these Hari people, then, secretly I may ask them what is going on. Maybe they'll come to the big city and they'll meet you on Harina and they say, hey, you came to my town. I just actually want to know, what is it all about? So, I mean, you already went in.
Yeah,
certainly. Magic has happened. So it's not a loss, it's actually a win.
Never.
And we'll take the small opportunities and put Krishna there, and then Krishna does the magic. Because the thing is, Krishna is doing everything. The holy name does everything. We don't do anything, but somehow it looks like we're doing it. It looks like we get the credit. But no, because the holy name's doing it. And the thing is that, obviously, if you're, the more people, the better. If you can access more people, that's obviously better. That's what Krishna wants. As many people to hear the holy name. We change up into little small towns, because sometimes the cities get too much. We want some variety, so we go there. But bigger places are good, smaller places are good. Everywhere is good, but we have to get out there. That's the only part. That's the hard part. Just stepping out the door. Once you step out the door, everything flows. So, Vaisheshika Prabhu says, just touching the pavement. You just tell your mind, we'll just touch the pavement. We'll do 5 minutes Harinam. There's no such thing as 5-minute Harinam. It easily turns into like 20 minutes, half an hour. Yeah. And then it's hard to come back home. You're just in ecstasy. The Harinam took over. But,
well, thank you so much. And anyone else with something to share, please?
I can say Nasima Chaitanya, Giridhar Puja, they've had a kid.
Yes.
I wish I could see the kid, but I want to congratulate you on the new baby boy. Dhananjaya. Hare Krishna. Hopefully he becomes super Harinam devotee.
Giridhar Puja Devi, are you able to unmute, please? I think she's busy somewhere else.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah. Anyone else? See, Prabhuji, sure.
Prabhu.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. With that, Sureshwar?
I think Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I think his connection is very weak.
Okay, maybe you can type out the question. Maybe.
He's speaking, but I can see his mic still muted. That's the sign.
Hello.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's not working.
Okay, it's not working.
Sureshwar Prabhu, if possible, you may type your question in the chat room, and then we'll read it. Well, while we wait for Sureshwar or any other devotee to say something, you talked about Brigu trying to look to find who is the supreme personality of Godhead. In our scriptures, there is abundance of quotes, references, how Shri Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Those who follow Lord Shiva, they also have lots of quotes convincing them that Lord Shiva is the supreme personality of Godhead. Why would Lord Shiva, knowing very well that he is a servant of the Supreme Lord, and so many of his followers and adorers referring to him as the Supreme Ishvara, what does he say? What does Lord Shiva say? And what does he do to correct his followers that I am not the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is Lord Vishnu.
Yeah. No, he's in charge of the mode of ignorance.
Nice.
So he's very compassionate to those in those lower modes. And he gives his association that way. Hobgoblins, ghosts, people of like lower nature, he's giving us association. So that's there for Lord Shiva. It's also a protection measure. I'm here in Vrindavan. So it says that, Lord Shiva is protecting the Dharma from intruders. So it's also that mechanism, to sort of keep them away from the devotees and, the spiritual world. He's protecting as well. So his service as Kupeshwara, she's protecting the Rasa Leela in his gopi form here in Vrindavan. So, yeah, but eventually it can come to the point where, he fulfills all the material desires, and then the devotee may want, or what is more. I myself, before coming to Krishna, I felt like, I don't want any material. I remember praying this to Lord Shiva. I go, I don't want anything. I just want to be a good person. And then the next moment I'm sent to the Hare Krishna temple, So he has that ability to do that. But if not, then he'll act like kind of like a demigod in that way, that being empowered by the Lord to fulfill his worshippers' duties. It's kind of like a duty for him to look after his followers. Like Banasura was also there. They please him, and he's Ashutosh, he's easily pleased. So they go to him and you give what they want. So I don't exactly know if he is out there to correct. I guess he did that with Banasura. He was like frustrated. He wanted to fight someone that could defeat him. That's why he was smashing mountains with his arms. He was thinking like, except you, Lord Shiva, there's no one who could defeat me. And then Lord Shiva gave benediction. Don't worry, someone will kick your butt, And and he's like, oh really? Now I have a fight. He was really puffed up. So we could say in that sense, maybe Lord Shiva wanted him to be, become humbled by Krishna. Maybe in the case of Ravan also, he was the worship of Lord Shiva. Every Krisura was worshipping Lord Shiva for material benediction, but then Lord Shiva had to take shelter of Lord Vishnu, so to defeat the demon. Okay, we have the question.
Yeah.
Was that okay, bro? Okay, let's see what he asked. All right, I wanted Prabhu to tell us how we as neophytes can develop enthusiasm for Harinam.
Yeah. Beautiful question.
It's a very good question. Actually, neophytes already have enthusiasm for Harinam. They're the easiest to get on Harinam. This is not, I'm going to say something that's not scriptural. This is just from experience. So there's 3 people that will go on Harinam that I experienced. That's very easy to get on Harinam.
All right.
The new number 1 is the new Bhakta. For some reason, you ask them, and no mental anxiety, they will go for Harinam. They're having so much fun in Krishna consciousness. Everything's exciting. So, okay, Harinam, this is what Hare Krishnas do. Let's go for it. Let's try it out, They're a little bit nervous at first. Once they get into it, they love it. So that's one. So if you're a new devotee, Harinam, that's your thing, you're because you're just simple. You're just ready for any service and you just do it. It's really nice. The second person who goes for Harinam is the ISKCON misfit. I don't know why, See, I don't know. Is this true, Prabhu? Have you experienced this?
I don't think so, but some people think.
Okay. So it's not. This is just observation. It's not set in stone. But the ISKCON misfit is like, he's like been in the movement for a while. He knows everything, but socially he's not really fitting in. He doesn't really have like a position. He's not a manager. He kind of just he's there. He's a bit eccentric, but he always be there for Harina. He feels he belongs there. I don't know if you know this type of word. And then the third person is like the Prabhupada disciple, the advanced devotee. He's done all the services and he understands that Harinam is the best service. So he goes for Harinam. So they're the three. So if you're a neophyte, you're very qualified to go in Harinam. You have enough enthusiasm to do Harinam. But if you're, as time goes on, it's very hard to continue it. So my enthusiasm comes from reading Srimad Bhagavatam. That's like my fire. When I read Srimad Bhagavatam, then I really, really want to go on high. So because every page is pointing towards the Yuga Dharma from beginning to end. So and we can say like the holy name is glorified in every canto, even at the end. Not the last verse of Bhagavatam is Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sava Papa Pranasanam Dukasham Prana Shamanas Tananami Hariparam. That, oh Lord, your congregational chanting of your holy name, it gets rid of all sins that one can commit. By bowing down to the Lord, all suffering is taken care of. I surrender unto Lord Hari. So that's the last verse of Bhagavatam. You're thinking, you want to know what's the conclusion, you go to the end of the book or the end of the movie, and that's how it concludes, with Harinam Sankirtan. So.
Well, thank you so much. To those who probably did not get the question Sureshwar Prabhu was asking was, he wanted to find out from His Grace Harinamanda Prabhu, what could neophytes, new devotees in the movement develop enthusiasm for Harinam. And thank you so much, Harinamanda Prabhu, for the explanation to his question. And I believe anyone who has involved himself or herself in Harinam on the street will attest to the fact that Harinam is the supremost of all the devotional service activities we're performing. So we encourage devotees to develop that taste to be on the street. There is one of our very own devotees in Nigeria, Ganga Prasad Prabhu. Every day he goes out with a few of his devotees and they do Harinam. All they do is chant. Yes. Sometimes they're able to distribute more books, sometimes few books, but the fact remains that they're always out there chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra with Mridanga, karatals, and dancing. And that is all we need. So we thank him a lot. And Prabhuji, yourself and your crew, your team, like Mahavishnu Maharaj, as elderly in physical body as he is, he's always out there,
Yeah, he's 78 years old.
Yeah, it's unimaginable, unbelievable. At such an advanced age, he's always out there doing Harinam. So these are some encouragements we can all look up to and try to be on the street. So thank you so much. And Sureshwar Prabhu is saying thank you so much for the answer. He very much appreciates your answer. And we all thank you.
Krishna.
And we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, unless someone has something to say. But we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute. And we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation. Our speaker, His Great Harinamananda Prabhu. I think someone has. All right, so we'll be all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Rama Rama, Hare
Back.
Kijai.
Hare Bol.